Well, good morning. First of all, thank you for the invitation to be here, Professora Margarida Tomé and Pedro Fontes. The organization, as Pedro told you before, represents landowners in Portugal and game estate owners, especially commercial shooting. We have different types of hunting in Portugal. What I'm going to talk you about, it's a brief history of game management in Portugal, more recent contemporary history, some numbers, some ideas about what we do in Portugal, and then some projects that we are linked with the conservation of endangered species, and finally the Wildlife Estates Network, which is a project that we are very committed to, with also our partner members. I don't see Nuno Calado, who is here with us as well, representing a forest owners organization. As a recent history, I start in 1974, so it's quite recent. In 1974, because we had a revolution in Portugal, and some significant changes occurred then. We had the abolishing of shooting estates, and most of at least the large estates were nationalized by the state. We also had an increase of the hunters, and most of the hunting estates who had quite a lot of species were not extinguished, but severe gain was caused to this population, and of course for non-game populations, for some species that had severe problems, especially those who depend on the game population as prey. In 1986, we had an act for hunting. It was a new law that allowed to create new hunting estates. The first ones were only created in 1988, and by the mid-90s, most of the land that had been nationalized was returned to its previous owners, and this allowed the private initiative to start managing the land for shooting again, by the beginning of this century, most of the land was already in game estates. So we have about 90% of the territory in game estates. As a result, the game populations recovered, and we have very good signs on the recovery of some endangered species as well. In numbers, we have 100,000 hunters with permits, but only a few are active hunters. Only 131,000 are active hunters. So we had a severe decrease. The crisis is affecting a lot the hunting sector. And we have many people who are hunters but who are not shooting every year. This is the Portuguese hunters, and in 20 years we had a decrease of about 65% on the number of hunters, and that is common to other countries in Europe and in the world as well, except the United States, I believe. In terms of new candidates, we only have 3,500 candidates a year, and the loss per year, it's about 10,000 hunters a year. Hunting estates, as I told you, it counts for 90% of the hunting area, and we have about 4,500 hunting estates in the country. This graphic shows the four different types of hunting estates we have in Portugal. The first one, ZCA, it's associative hunting estates. The ZCT, it's touristic, it counts for commercial hunting estates. Then we have the municipal hunting estates and the national hunting estates. That are only 5 in Portugal, and it's governmental, state-owned areas. In economical terms, the hunting generates up to 350 million euros a year, which is very important for our economy, and it is related with a lot of different areas, from industry to tourism, for taxes to the public sector as well. It's also very important for rural areas as for the jobs it creates. It counts for up to 7,000 permanent jobs and a lot more than 10,000 part-time jobs for beaters, gamekeepers, and all these people who work in the countryside. One of the things that, it's a fact for Portugal, up to 70% of the Portuguese territory has severe restrictions for farming and forestry, and also hunting and ecotourism are some of the few economical viable activities. And in some counties, this is one of the cases, Mértola in the southeastern part of Portugal. Hunting is actually the main activity for all that county, and it has been nominated as a national capital of hunting in Portugal. In terms of game management, important actions include the control of food and water availability. For our type of ecosystems, the water is very, very important. Also habitat management, and I will show you a few examples afterwards. Populations management, and of course the surveillance, which is one of the most important things in hunting estates. The water, as I told you, as all these water points that exists all over the country, and it creates not only water availability for game species, but also for other protected species. The type of management that we can see in the countryside, it affects a bit of the landscape. It changes the landscape. Here you can see different types of stripes that were created for game crops, and also to benefit cover for some species, like partridge, for instance. Here are other examples. And all these greener areas that you see, or light green areas that you see, it's game crops specially created for game species. Some examples of the main species that we exploit or harvest in Portugal. And this type of habitat with mosaic landscape with different types of cover, it's what we aim when we're doing game management, especially for the species that I showed you before. The surveillance and the disturbance control, which is very important, and it also has very strong impact on the conservation of other species. And in the end, what we aim is to have multifunctional landscapes where farming is not the main option, or at least in a large part of the territory, and different types of activities, from hunting, tourism, cattle grazing, forestry, take part in the same place. In terms of conservation, we have, as I told you before, very good results in the last few years, with some endangered, including some extincted species in Portugal. Imperial eagle, for example, returned to Portugal thanks to our Spanish neighbors who kept the imperial eagles. And some 7 years ago, I think, when the first came again to Portugal, we had none, and now we have 10 pairs of imperial eagle, and all in game estates with a good level of management. These are some projects that we are committed to with the conservation of Iberian lynx. It's a species that came almost to extinction in Portugal, and now we are working on the habitats, but also on in situ conservation with the breeding again with a program with our Spanish neighbors, and also a project that we are in for Iberian lynx and the black vulture. Both species depending a lot on the game management. The lynx because of the rabbit, because most of its feeding depends on the rabbit, and the black vulture because with the new cap policy and the sanitary regulations that force the removal of all the carcasses of domestic animals from the fields, this species is facing strong problems, and it depends a lot on the big game population like deer and wild boar to subsist. Well, this is just an example. The hunting, we only take a very small part of biodiversity. We count that in most of in our type of habitats, we have 140, 150 species of vertebrates. We only take, 5 or 4 in a hunting estate. But then the game management with all this habitat, feeding, surveillance, it has an impact in most of the biodiversity, and makes this sustainability of the Mediterranean or contributes for the sustainability of these Mediterranean ecosystems. And when we talk about sustainability, we talk in terms of environmental, economical, and social, of course. And finally, just a brief description of this project. It's a kind of certification that started with the European Landowners Organization together with the DG Environment of the European Commission. It's a project that aims to give a certificate to states that have a high level of management, and this management it contributes in a significant way for biodiversity. This is a publication that was made for the project. It has a foreword from the commissioner, and if you want to look into this, there's a site. You just Google for wildlife estates and you will find it. It has very important partners like BirdLife, also IUCN, FACE, which is the Federation of Hunters in Europe, the Rice Foundation, and the Council of International Council for Hunting and Conservation. As I told you, it all started with the ELO, the European Landowners Organization, and we are very proud because the project started in Portugal in 2005 and in a meeting that was held in Estremoz. The first 4 wildlife estates to be labeled were in a ceremony in 2007, and Portugal had one of these 4 pilot wildlife estates, Herdade da Raposa, which is this estate that has been again awarded by the Bela Europa Awards in a ceremony in the European Parliament. And this is one of the gallant dinner we had in Portugal to label Portuguese estates. We account now for 40,000 hectares, more or less, a bit more. And we have all these estates that have been submitted to this certification process, and we hope to extend this area in the near future to a lot more. And well, this was what I had to show you. If you have some comments or questions, please feel free.